Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to talk to you guys about the brand new record from Memoriam, Requiem for Mankind, out June 21st on Nuclear Blast. The album has 10 tracks, 48 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length album. Listen to this record, I really felt impressed with the work that they put together and with the final result. This is an album that to me really shows growth and maturity as far as the band is concerned. I felt that they've encompassed perhaps the best out of the first two records, added a few new items, and then released this record to show the fans that, hey, we're not sitting back on what we did in the past. We want to move forward. We want to try new things. So this is a glimpse perhaps on the next future steps that the band will take as far as other album releases are concerned. I was really impressed with it. It really shows maturity from the band, from a sound perspective, from a lyrical perspective, and from an overall structure of the record. They created an album that, in my opinion, is very dynamic. At first glance, perhaps doesn't appear to be so. At first glance, perhaps it appears to be a record that has a little bit of repetition to it, specifically from the guitar sound. But once you start diving into it, you realize how dynamic, how diverse this record really is, specifically from the drums and the guitars. There are some common denominators throughout the record that are really the glue that keep the whole album together. But from a overall sound perspective, this record is very dynamic, it's very fluid, it really has a lot of moving parts. From a lyrical sense, not so much. This is an album that really falls in line with previous records, so it touches on the same similar themes. But that's okay, I'm not really looking for a band to really change the core of their writing style as far as lyrics are concerned. What I'm more interested to see is where does the band go forward after the first two releases? Where do they go forward with their sound? That is where I'm paying attention to. That is what I'm going to be looking at when I'm looking at a new release. This album to me really moves the needle forward. In my opinion, like I said, really takes a few things, more than a few perhaps, of the previous two records, and then it really pushes the envelope forward. It really moves the needle forward. I like what they did with this album. I really like the feel, the overall sound of the record. The darkness that this record has, not just coming from the lyrics, because that is expected with the themes of the songs, but with the overall sound of the album. It's very dark. This album, to me, it felt like you're walking into a dark forest as you started listening to it. Halfway through it, you lost your way and you don't know how to get back to where you were. And now you find yourself in a dark forest at night, not knowing exactly where you are. That is the overall vibe that you're going to get listening to this record. You really feel like you start to walk in and you're easing yourself into the record, and the more you get into it, the more lost in the record you become. In the main core, you still have that really traditional UK death metal sound. So that is still there. That is, in my opinion, the spinal cord of the record. But around that, they added other components that really allowed the songs to feel different. Because that to me was one of the important key components of this record, is how every song, while using the same components, they use them in different ways, with different styles, with different approaches, to create songs that are very unique from each other. Overall, they have a sense of commonality, like they all have something in common. I would say the vocals perhaps are the glue that holds them all together. Overall, the guitars, there's a sense in the guitars that you also get that feel like it really translates from song to song. But there's so many little unique details, there's so many different moving pieces from song to song to song, that you soon realize that, wow, this album is really different from track to track, and they're not all bundled as one giant track. It really has that uniqueness to it. The more you listen to it, the more you start paying attention to those details, and you start to realize all the little nuances that every single song has in order for the record to have the fluidity that it needs to have and not sound repetitive. Overall, this is the sound you're going to get from the record. Now, when you look more into the record, to me, there's three components that really deserve a few lines. And that is the drums, the guitars, and the vocals. I already mentioned the vocals. The vocals to me is really the glue that holds this whole record together, because they're consistent from the first song to the last song. They never deviate. They're always the same style, the same approach. And there's a lot of darkness to the delivery. Like I said, in this album, I really felt that there's an overall blanket of darkness that really covers the record. From the drum side of things, I really found the drum work on this album absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I loved what they did with the drums as far as the aggressiveness that it gave to the tracks, or the melody, how it set the tempos. It was really one of the main driving forces behind each and every single song. The drums almost told you when the song was slowing down, when the song was going to pick up, when it was going to be more heavy. The drums were, in my opinion, one of the main components of this record, and to me, they were absolutely phenomenal from the first to the last song. I love the drum work on this record. The last component was the guitars, and the guitars are not to be they're not to be underestimated. Like I said, overall, the first time you listen to this record, you may get the impression that some of the riffs have not the same sound, but the same style. And the more you listen to it, or at least the more attention you pay to it, you start to realize that there's a lot of different nuances. Some songs you get a lot more groovier riffs. Some songs you have almost a thrash metal sounding riff to it. Some are your traditional death metal sound. So there's a lot of different components. Even in some songs, they incorporated different styles, different sounds as far as the guitars were concerned, in order to give the song different life, to give the song a different dynamic. So to me, the work as far as the guitars are concerned on this record was exceptional, because it really gave life to the songs. It really gave uniqueness to each single track while keeping some of the same overall components intact. And that's why at first glance, the album sounds like almost all the tracks have the same style, but then when you look deeper into it, you realize that they don't. And that, I would say 90% of that comes from the work that these guys did on the guitar side of things, that really allowed to create a record that overall has one vibe, but then when you look into it, it's made up of separate, different, unique elements that make all that one overall vibe. Now, as far as songs are concerned, I picked 3 songs that I felt that added, or they gave the record some uniqueness. I'm going to start with Austerity Kills. This song has one of the hookiest, catchiest chorus on the whole album. Austerity Kills, that one line in the chorus, repeated over and over again. But it works. It's the simplicity of it is what works as far as this track is concerned. It starts off with a great opening riff, and the drums together. They really set the stage for what this song is going to be like. It's heavy guitars with heavy drums. The two really just work side by side. This is a song that really incorporates guitars and drums extremely well. They're really the driving force of the track together. There's slight swings as far as the guitars is concerned. This is a song that really changes as it goes along. There's slight fluctuations as far as the guitar riffs are concerned, as far as the sound, the style, the feel, and the structure of those riffs. But they're ever so slightly. So even though it's almost changing every few seconds, you almost don't feel like that change is even happening, because it's so subdued, it's so subtle. And to me, that was one of the main things that attracted me to this song, was those fluctuations, giving melody, giving aggression, giving melody, giving aggression, giving a mixture of both, bringing darkness into the picture, really alternating all of these different elements. There's also a killer bass line that gives you the lead in into the chorus. The only thing I would have done differently is that I've used that bass line perhaps once more down the line in the track, because it was absolutely marvelous. It just stops the song, it pumps the brakes, stops the song, you get that killer bass line, and then the chorus comes in like a punch to the gut. I really like what they did that. It just added something different, it added a uniqueness to the song, and it almost felt like a reboot of the song at that point. The chorus is simple, like I said before, the one line, Austerity Kills. I like how it comes across, because they added a little bit of an echo effect to it. So even though he's saying it once, it sounds like there's volume to it because of the echo around it. I just really like that. I like that combination of things, but really the highlights of this song is the heavy drums and the change between melody and aggression from the guitars. The next song is Refuse to Be Led. Much different song, a more melodic approach to this song. It still has heavy, fast tempo moments to it, but overall I would say this is a more somber vibe to it. It really has that feel. It really comes across at the beginning of the track, that somber vibe, but then it returns throughout the track. It's always there. There's always a little bit of an atmosphere of darkness surrounding this song. It really helps set the song apart from the rest of the album. It gives the uniqueness to the track. The guitar riffs and the melodies really weave themselves throughout the track, mixing in with the drums. The drums add a lot of heaviness to it all the way through. They add aggression to the song. I would say in this specific song, the guitars are there almost more for melody, weaving themselves in and out of the track, while the guitars are the drums are the constant provider of heaviness to this song. I really like it. I really like the guitar riff sound on this specific track because the darkness that gives to the song. The guitars are really not concerned with giving the song a lot of heaviness. They're more concerned with giving the song darkness, while the drums are providing the heaviness and the vocals give the extra aggression. Last but not least, my favorite song on the record, The Veteran. I love this song because to me this song is exactly what Pantera would sound like if they were a death metal band. That's the best description that I have. One of the grooviest sounding songs on the record. Now, as the song started with that groovy guitar riff, I was really concerned is how are the vocals going to work, because the vocals really have that pure death metal feel, sound, vibe to it, and this song has a very groovy metal riff. So how are these two things going to work? They work. They really work well because the grooviness of this song is not constant. It's there, I would say 80% of the time, but there's moments where it drops out to a more traditional death metal sounding riff. So I really like how they structured the song. I like how they incorporated the riff at the beginning, and the vocals really don't take anything away from it. And also the riff doesn't take anything away from the vocals. So they were really able to create a song that, while having a lot of grooviness and melody to it, is still a very heavy song. Perhaps not heavy in the more traditional death metal style heavy, but still a heavy song that works really well when you combine that death metal vocal style with a more groovy groove metal style riffs. So the combination of the two at first glance may not seem like it's going to work. It really worked well on this track. It really set this track apart from everything else on the record. There's no song that has that style guitar riff in it, and there's no song that gives that life, that energy to a whole album. This song is really the reboot. It comes around the middle point of the record, middle towards end of the record, and it's just an energizer kind of track. It just has a lot of life in it, and it has a lot of melody. And that guitar riff, that grooviness of that guitar riff is so dynamic. It brings so much life into the track. I absolutely love what they did here. The song finishes off more on a death metal side of things. They drop out that grooviness of the guitar riff. The drums come in really heavy, really packing a punch. And then the from a guitar side, everything moves more towards a more traditional death metal sound, and that's how the song finishes off. But those 2/3 of the track, that pure groove metal riff, I absolutely love it. It added melody, but at the same time, it added when you mix that melody with the vocals, it adds darkness to it. It really adds that. This album is really filled with darkness from beginning to end. All right, guys, this is it for me. This is Memoriam, Requiem for Mankind, out June 21st. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles that they already released, and on your favorite tracks of the album. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.